that college football playoff, it needed a big game, and it had it yesterday with Arizona State. Credit to them for taking it to Texas. Credit to Ohio State as well. But credit to Arizona State, really, the loser of the bunch. But they played with some guts. Give them all the credit.
And that was the game that was supposed to be the blowout. That was the game that they – yeah, and Colin, it was the early game too. That's how you know. It was the early game. These games get scheduled based on how they think the matchup is. They thought the Buckeye-Oregon game was going to be the game of the day at 5:30, and then the nightcap with Notre Dame and Georgia. So and I skipped out on it. Kyle, I skipped out on it.
That's not a good move. I don't know why you did that. That's a little rough.
We was with family yesterday. It was, we took the boat out and we wanted to make sure we were home for the Buckeyes. Uncle Mark came on over to Cousin Michael's. We had a great time, man.
You missed a great game. I mean, Mike, come on. You got to catch that game.
I went back and watched on YouTube TV. See, that's the glory of 2025 now. You could just go back and watch on YouTube TV. I still can't believe they completed that 4th and 13.
Well, credit to them.
I cannot believe.
Texas
I'm talking about
Guts.
Texas. I apologize. I'm talking about Texas. I cannot believe 4th and 13, down 7, dead in the water. They score a touchdown. And, I know I was watching it back on tape, but at the time, if I was watching it live, over. I don't think Arizona State would have recovered from something like that, and obviously they didn't. So
it's fascinating because there's been a lot of uproar about that missed targeting call late in the fourth quarter in which it would have given Arizona State a first down in the last drive of the game and a chance to win it without a great field goal kicker at that, but they had some timeouts. They had some time on the clock. And it wasn't called, and it was reviewed, and it was Taffy, the safety on Texas. And in live motion, it looked like targeting. Once you look at it, it was face mask to face mask. The helmet was definitely hit. The head neck area was definitely hit. You know how subjective targeting gets. I don't love the fact that a game could have been ended with targeting, so honestly, I was okay with them not calling it because it was such a monumental decision in that game, and they got lucky because the football gods got in the way of that Texas field goal at the end of regulation. But it's you don't want targeting to be the decision maker.
But by definition, that was targeting. I don't know what targeting is.
He didn't. Nobody knows. That's the thing. Nobody knows what. By definition, nobody knows what targeting is. I saw one time in my life, and it was the Skoronski kid, the middle linebacker on Clemson. I think this was against Ohio State.
It was. He got thrown out of
the game. Dove. That was targeting. That was right. All right, that is where
helmet to helmet, right?
Yeah, he didn't lead with the crown of the helmet. I don't know. He hit the whole body. As a defensive back, what are you supposed to do? That's the way I looked at it. Like that, unless you aim somewhere else. I don't know.
I'm with you. I don't want a game decided by a call like that. But and you laughed at the by definition thing. I guess according to my made up definition, that should have been targeting. It was helmet to helmet, and I know he didn't lead with the crown, but you led with the face mask and you smacked him right dead on in the helmet. I guess the big question, I think, is what is targeting? I think we have to have a serious conversation on what targeting is and what it isn't, because it seems like the referees are picking and choosing when to call it. Yeah. And that's not right.
And there was a targeting review earlier in the game, of course, on the Arizona State interception. That one was definitely not targeting. I agree, Texas probably got a gift on that, but I like the fact that targeting was not the decision maker in the game. So Arizona State has no ground to cry upon saying that they were screwed out of the game because you're up a touchdown on 4th and 13.
Got to find a way.
You got to win that game in overtime. And the football gods gave you a blessing by missing those 2 field goals. And Ewers played a winning football game. Yeah. So it's hard to bash him. After that interception, he really locked in and put together about 4 or 5 straight great drives. So all the credit to them. Texas, it should be a great matchup against Ohio State. But I'm okay with it just off the notion that don't end a game based on a targeting call, especially when it's probably a targeting. But if you have to say probably to it, to me, I'm okay with leaving it out. It's situational. It's contextual.
Right. And I think, obviously, you ask Arizona State fan the question of if it was targeting or not. That's one of the headlines of the game. But from an unbiased perspective like myself, the story of the game was Scatterbo and what he was able to do. I went to the Friday Night Lights quote of, and he can pass. I mean, he could do it all. He was running. He was passing. He threw for a touchdown. He was receiving. He was
been invited to New York, honestly.
Absolute unit. I mean, and after the game, I think he even said it before the game that he's the best running back in the country. It's hard to argue that. It's hard to argue that he wasn't after watching the display he put on against a SEC 5-star defense in Texas.
Yeah, credit to him. Really, and especially, I know this is no conversation due to the sheer numbers in the comparison, but, Genty, for all the sake, he did not have a great game at all against Penn State, and it was pretty much a non-factor. And then you flip it, and then Scatterboo, who is the solo circled member of that the scouting report for Arizona State, and he dominated.
Yep.
Every facet of the game, dominated. So credit to him. And Genty did not play that great against Penn State. So when you're that focal point running back, doesn't always translate to you being a major factor, but Arizona State played away. I think Sam Levitt deserves a ton of credit, too, that quarterback for Arizona State. Guy played a winning football game. He didn't have the stats for it, but he played a winning football game. Guy, a sneaky athlete. But the way I look at that, too, is Ewers, he's got a lot of Brock Purdy in him. He's almost like a winner. He doesn't have the arm for it. He doesn't have the uber mobility. He doesn't wow you in many ways. He knows how to play a winning football game.
Sun Devils.
The reports were that he was being told to go back to school. Before the college football playoff, people and reports are out there that Ewers wasn't going to get drafted high. He needs to go back to school for one more year. If he has a good performance against Ohio State, I think that could completely drive up his draft stock.
Same with Aller.
And I could argue even Will Howard. I think Will Howard's been the best quarterback in all of the college football playoffs.
He doesn't have a choice, but you get what I'm saying. Super draftable.
As far as
Howard is definitely a capable backup. I totally see that.
As far as I apologize. Draft stock. Will Howard, I think, has certainly risen that up with his play. Now it helps when you're throwing to Jeremiah Smith and Igbuka. But
they dominated. They didn't even. Blink.
And can I take my victory lap?
Fine.
I called it. You guys asked
Finally.
me.
They were going to beat Michigan. They were going to lose to Penn State. You're due to hit one eventually.
You
guys, they were going to beat Oregon in Oregon.
You guys asked me. I said
four?
I said Ohio State blows out Oregon, and that's exactly what happened. 34-0. And the pessimistic fan that I am, I'm like, all right, let's just get to halftime. Oregon scores before the half. They come out, and on a 3rd and 22, they complete a first down. Then they immediately score. Buckeyes go 3 and out, and then you're like, all right, this is probably going to turn into a game. And then the Buckeye defense responded with a huge 3 and out. And
we don't need to go drive for drive. We don't need to go drive for drive.
They completely dominated. But what I'm saying is it was a game for a little bit. It was a game for a little bit in that second quarter and in that third quarter. And then fair play to the Buckeyes and that defense, man. I think we could all sit here and agree that the Buckeyes have the best defense in the country.
Well, how do you think Oregon sits after beating Penn State in that Big Ten championship game, probably sitting a little too long in between games and having to go to the Rose Bowl playing a team that is playing with their hair on fire and that coach has that team invigorated? This is why I cannot take Ohio State seriously. So Ohio State, all of a sudden, all the fans were ready to, tar and feather Ryan Day and walk down the street with him.
1-4 against Michigan.
Hold on. And then all of a sudden, it's 34-0 against Oregon, and we're ready to, get him in the golden chariot and do a lap around the city.
That's not true.
All of a sudden, hold on.
That's not true. We're not putting anyone in a golden chariot. We haven't won anything
yet. Why not?
We haven't won anything yet.
Why not? Ryan Day.
You got to win a national championship.
You can't bash Ryan Day now.
You got to win a national championship.
Hold on. Mike, it was